No problem. So let's start then. Okay. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तो पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Please repeat after me. Om Sahana Vavatu
Om Sahana Vavatu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahanau Bhunattu
Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Sahaviryam Karavavahe
Tejasvi Navadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai
Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Asato Ma Sadgamaya
Asato ma sadgamaya
Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya
Tamarso ma jyotirgamaya
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya.
Mrityorma amritam gamaya.
Okay, so last time, we had gone through some of the concepts. So just to recap, so I thought it's a good idea if one of you can actually recap that, because then I can also know, what's your understanding and how much you have got to know about whatever we have discussed. So, any volunteers? Anyone would like to?
last session.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take it this time, and next time onwards. So this is going to come to you. Okay, so just
Sure.
all right. So because the reason why I asked that was whatever we are learning, right? So that is actually a step-by-step process. So the first step, whatever we have told about Maya and Brahman and all that during the last class, is the base for whatever we are going to learn forward. So that should be absolutely clear, so that we can understand what is being taught going forward. So that's how it is. So I'll just give a quick recap. Let me just present my screen. So let me know once you can see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we are looking at this text Tattvabodha, and then we are now going through the qualifications of a sadhaka. A sadhaka basically means that whoever wants to learn, understand, and wants to realize that supreme truth. So that's what is the meaning of a sadhaka, right? So then the first quality, as told by Shankaracharya, is the Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. That is Brahman and Maya. So I'll not go into the details. So, but then remember this. So whatever is transitionary, that whatever is changing, that is what is called as Maya. When we say Maya is an illusion, there is a base to all these changeless, the changing things. There is a changeless base to all this. So that is what is called as Brahman. So we saw this concept in detail during the last class with the example of gold and the ornaments, right? So if you can keep that in mind, so that that example will help you clarify that. So what we are saying is that this Brahman is the energy or power or source or whatever we want to call it. So that is what is the cause in scientific terms, as we call it, as the causality, right? So that's the cause on top of which everything is changing, and that itself is being changed in various forms. So we saw the example of examples given in the Upanishads, the examples given by Uddalaka, the sage, and Shweta Ketu, that examples that we saw of the clay pot, and then of the banyan tree, and then we saw the example of the salt getting mixed in water. So all these is what we saw during the last time. And when we say normally Maya is an illusion, Maya is, remember that Maya is nothing but changing the names and forms. That is the names, forms, and utility. So that is what is called as Maya. So it keeps changing, right? So, and just to add, I don't know whether we spoke about this last time. So even we say that, the world is all Maya, right? From where did this come? This has come from the concept that you have heard about the world as Jagat, right? Jagat. Have you heard about the term Jagat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jagat basically means Jayate Gachati Tishtati. That is what is called as Jagat, right? What is Jayate? Which means that, which is born, right? Which will go, which remains and goes. So Jayate is born. Gachati is like, it will go also. And in the meantime, in between, Tishtati, it will remain. So whatever is born, remaining, and it will remain and then go after a certain period of time, that is what is called as Jagat. And that what is born has to die, right? Or whatever is created will get destroyed. So that cycle of creation and then being there for some time and then getting distracted, so that is what is called as Jagat. Jagat, that is the three letters there. So this is called Maya, because on what is changing there, everything is changing on in terms of the name, form, and utility. So this we saw last time in detail. So that's what is Brahman and Maya. Then we saw about Viraga. Again, Viraga or Vairagya is not like something that you should renounce everything and go to the forest. But as we said in the example, like a student who is aspiring to become to get into IPS or IAS, right, or into civil service, will do good in the 10th standard. Likewise, uh, a sadhaka who wants to attain God will do good for his or her livelihood and whatever he or she is doing in day-to-day terms, right? Because that becomes a path for that person to reach the godhood. So that when it is done with pure dedication or samarpana, that's what will lead to the vairagya and also to attain that supreme truth. So these are the two things that we have seen in the last class. Now we will see about Shatka Sampatti. The Shatka Sampatti is like, although there are only 4 qualifications of a sadhaka, this one particular one has got 6 inside that. So this is like a subset. So this is what we are going to see now. This is Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. These are the Shatka Sampattis, right? And then we will also see Mumukshutvam. So this is what we are going to see going forward. So this we saw. Now Shatka Sampatti. Shamada Shatka Sampatti Kam, Shamodama Uparama Stitiksha, Shraddha, Samatanam Cha Iti. So this is what it says. So the 6 qualities. And now we look at the first one, Shama. Shamaka Mano Nigraha. Right. So a very interesting one here. Can you see my screen still?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
not anymore. It's back to normal now.
Yeah, that's fine. So because I wanted to stop that. So now Shama means Mano Nigraha. So when you say Mano Nigraha, just from the term, what do you understand about that? Any thoughts?
Self reflection. Nigra, is it reflection or self identification?
Anything else? So mana, have you heard about this term mana?
Mana is the mind, and Nigraha means determination. Is it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So mana is like, the mind, as you rightly said. Nigraha is one term that we need to actually look at very carefully, because a lot of people think that Nigraha means to destroy. Right. It is actually not destruction at this point of time. It is more like controlling it. So it's a very interesting thing. And, the entire Vedanta is, the first step is, of course, the mind control. And I think it was I don't remember, it was Nilesh Bhai who said this in the first class, I think, that when you say mind, this entire world is a projection of the mind. I think he made that statement. So that's what it is, actually speaking. Because if you look at and this is something very interesting, so mind, we normally think that we identify ourselves with the mind, right? When I say I, or when I say you, or when I say that, okay, he is a good guy, right? What do we mean? So if I say that, let's say Pradeep is a good guy, it doesn't mean that Pradeep has got six packs, right? That it doesn't mean that, right? So it's not about the body, it's about the character of a person. And what is that character? Character is something that is associated with your thoughts or with your mind, correct? And how the other person perceives that, right? So mind is the basis for a particular person, not the body, right? When you say that person is good or bad or whatever that is. Now, mind, when you say about that particular person, there is a portion of the mind or that thoughts of that person which is visible to the others and which is not visible. So there is one part, as we say, we all wear a mask, right? You might have heard about that, right? We all wear a mask in the public, and then and we ourselves will think at some point of time, sometimes, it's like we get the utmost the sublime and pure thoughts, and we will be like, wow. And some other times we will be like, such bad thoughts are coming to me, why, right? So first of all, we need to understand what mind is. So mind is nothing but it's like just thoughts, right? When we say that forest, what is forest? As an example, forest is like a collection of trees and plants and everything, and collectively it is called forest. So there, first of all, the thing that we need to understand is there is no particular entity called as mind. It is just the flow of thoughts. So if you look at, show me the mind, you can't show the mind. The mind is just the flow of thoughts, one after the other, one after the other. Why we think that, okay, there is something called as mind? It is almost like an unbroken chain. If you look at it, the moment that you wake up, right? The moment that you wake up, you come to know, you first thought is something related to you. If you have observed that, just observe it, right? Sometimes it so happens that, when you wake up, I don't know whether it has happened to you, just, I'm sure that it might have. We might not realize where we are, just for like, 1 or 2 minutes, or like, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, we will be like, okay, where am I, right? And then everything comes to light, and then thoughts start coming in. So that point when the thoughts are not there, right, that is actually a state where you are there, you as your entity is there, but the thoughts are not there. But then you are thinking that, okay, where am I, what is happening, right? So the first thing to note is that mind as such is just a flow of thoughts. So then we talk about a lot of things, actually, right? We talk about intellect, we talk about memories, we talk about thoughts. So what is the difference between mind and intellect and thoughts and other things in Vedantic terms, right? So let's try to understand that. So in Vedantic terms, so mind has been bifurcated into 4 parts. And what are those 4 parts? These are the 4 stages. So generally we talk about mind when you say mana, it is being used interchangeably. So there are four parts. The first part is mana or manas. The second part is buddhi. Third part is chitta. And fourth part is ahankara. So remember, all of these are thoughts only, right? Nothing else. But then the classification of thought is being done in this manner for us to understand this better. And all these four put together is something called as antakarana in the Vedanta terminology, right? So mana is the place where we have the thoughts, right? Buddhi is something which will help you make the decisions. Should I do that or should I not do that? Right? So our mind as such will pull us into a lot of things. Let's say you might be diabetic and you have got a lot of jalebis in front of you, right? And then your mind will say, go and eat it. Take one, nothing will happen because it's just one jalebi, right? Your buddhi will say, no, hold, you have diabetes, no, don't take it. So that particular discriminatory power or logical layer is the buddhi, which you all know, right? And then the memory layer, wherein we have stored all our memories, which comes to us without our permission at times. Even we'll not be thinking of, we will not have thought about someone for like months or years together. Suddenly that memory will come, right? So that layer is called as chitta. So then mana is the thoughts. We'll come to mana in detail in a little bit more in bit of time. But mana, buddhi, chitta. Then the last one is the most important one, which all the other three is based on, right? So just for the classification, I have just shown it like this, but then we will see about this particular layer in detail later, which is ahankara. That is I, the ego. That is the base for all this. So if you can connect this I to each of these ones, so if this I is there, then only the rest of the three layers actually arise. So the memories, for who is this memory? This is for me, I, ego. Buddhi, whose buddhi? Mine. Whose mana? Mine. Right? So everywhere the common factor is I or the ego. The ego acts as the backbone for the entire antakarana, for the manas, for the buddhi, for the chitta. Now coming to the classification of mana. So mana, you can further classify into three parts, wherein it is how it works actually. So the first part is called as mala. Mala means there is something called as ashtaraga. Ashtaraga means whatever that you have which keeps your thoughts, because mana is like we all know our minds, right? What is the mind like? It's like a jumping monkey, right? It goes from one thing to other, and it always wants something. It always wants to get indulged in something, right? So that's the nature of the mind. It's not stable. Mind is never stable, right? It is very difficult to control. That's why it is said it is very difficult to control the mind. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says this, that Vayoriva sudushkaram. So controlling the mind, he says, is difficult than tying. It is like trying to tie the wind. So if you are trying to tie the wind in one place, it is not possible, because the nature of wind is that it will blow and it will not be in one place. Similarly, the mind is also like that, wherein it will not sit in one place, or it will not concentrate in one place, right? Its basic nature is the distraction. And why it is going for the distraction? We spoke about vasanas last time, if you remember, right? So what is the vasanas, or what it can, how is it classified? It is classified into ashtaragas. What are the ashtaragas? Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, damba, ahankaram. So these are the ashtaragas. By the name itself, you might have known what it is. Kama is desire for anything. Krodha is your anger. Lobha is like, you have, somebody else has got something, and then you are like, I want that. basically a kind of a jealousy. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. Moha is like, it might be something like, the difference between Kama and Moha is that it might be righteous and it might be within our reach, right? But still, we will be like going much deeper into it with unnecessary tension. That is, let's say I want the promotion. Promotion is something that I will get if I work work with my 100% effort, let's say in 1 year's time or 2 years time, let's say 2 years time. But then what I will see is that is there any way that I can do some politics and get that, right, as an example. So that's like, trying to grab it before time. That, and Kama is like your affiliation towards any particular objects. So Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. Mada, of course, Mada is like, trying to, I want to be the supreme most in anywhere. So that pride, right? Mada, Matsarya, competitive mentality. When I say competitive mentality is fine, but unhealthy competition. So Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Malsarya, Damba. Damba is again like, there is no one better than me, right? That is the thing. Damba and Ahankara. Ahankara is the same Ahankara, that is this ego. Ego, again, these are all like very minute classifications. We will again see this in detail, but then I'm just telling you just for the information purpose at this point of time, because we have just started this, right? So this mana, the mala is the ashtaraga. Vikshepa, very interesting point. Vikshepa is like, distraction of thoughts. When I say distraction or thoughts, like I said, your mind, whether it is in your control is the question here, or our mind, whether it is in our control. The moment that we wake up, and if you just look at it, there is no control on what thought I will get. Let's say I'm now speaking, right? Right now there might be, there will be some thoughts that is going through your mind, which are like uninvited guests. You never thought that thought will come to you. Nobody can say, right? After 5 minutes, what will I think about? Can you say? No. I mean, what you will think about? No, you cannot say. How the thoughts that came into your mind like 5 minutes back came into being, you don't know, right? The reason is that the thoughts are like uninvited guests, and mind plays the most important part. We will think that we are controlling the mind, whereas it is the other way around. If you look at it, let's say you have to go tomorrow early to the office, and you have to, let's say, start at 6 o'clock. So you put an alarm at 4 o'clock, and then you are trying to sleep. At 10:30, everything is done, your light is switched off, you have put your eye mask, everything, and then you are in the bed. And what happens? You are not able to sleep till 2 o'clock. Why? You are just getting up, looking at the watch. Everything has been shut off except for your mind. When the mind gets switched off, then only you are able to sleep. When the mind awakes, then only you are awake. Meaning, if you take the same example, let's say you might have kept an alarm for like 6 o'clock, and then when you wake up, actually it might be 7 o'clock, and you will be like, what, how come it became 7? So then you would have got up at 6, and involuntarily you might have switched off the alarm as well, and you would not have registered that. Why? Your mind was not awake, and then you will be thinking like, when did I get up and when did I switch off the alarm? How did all this happen? Right? So when the mind wakes up, this ahankara also wakes up. When the thoughts, right, again, remember, ahankara is also a form of thought, right? When the mind shuts down, that's when you actually go to sleep or gets shut down. You have seen a lot of people, we have all seen that, people sleeping in the railway stations, right, wherein there are a lot of disturbances all around, lot of noise. And there are people, we also might have slept when we go for any festivals and all, right, when there is overnight festivals, then there will be a lot of noise around us, but then we will sleep. Why? We are, what does it mean by tired? It's not just about physical tiredness, it's also about the mind closing down. That is what it is. So the nature of the mind itself is the thoughts. And then I don't know whether any of you are doing this meditation. um, you know that's when you will really know the power of this mind, right? When you sit for meditation, in the seat of meditation, that's when you will get the maximum thoughts, if you have noticed it, right? You will just sit and say that, okay, I'm going to meditate now, and then you will sit straight, you will close your eyes, and then you will be like, okay, so no thoughts, I just want to be at peace. That's when it will start, right? Let's say you are starting with something like, let me meditate on the picture of Shiva as an example. So you will close your eyes, you will start meditating, and then what will happen is that, okay, for 2 seconds or something, you will have Shiva picturized in your mind. Then after that, what will happen? You will think the train starts, right? Oh yeah, I have seen this beautiful picture of Shiva in Sandeep Bai's house. I don't know from where he brought that. So I think next time I should ask him. And by the way, when I went to his house last time, I had a good dinner. And then the train goes on, and then you might go to India in your thoughts. You might come back. All that will happen. So that is what is called as the vikshepa, the distraction, right? Then after 10 minutes, you will realize that, okay, I was sitting here to meditate, but then you completely forgot that, right? So that's what will happen. Then the ajnana avarana, the maya or the power of mind as a wheel, meaning maya we already saw. With the mind projecting something, then only you will be able to realize that name and form. What does that mean? We will see in detail later. So this is what the mind totally is. It is called as antakarana, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. And the nature of mana, mala, that is consisting of ashtaragas, vikshepa, the thoughts, and ajnana avarana. So this is what it is, right? So this is about the mind. So any questions till now?
Where the last will explain, is it? Ajnana Avarna.
Sorry?
Last one, Ajnana Avarana, right? Will you explain that one?
Yeah, so Ajnana Avarana is the Maya, the one that we have explained. So, Ajnana Avarana is like, yeah, the one that we have seen earlier. But then from a mind perspective, we are going to see that in detail. So that's the reason why I didn't touch that in detail. But it's like, something, mind actually projects something that it is not there. In the sense that if you go back to the example of that ornament, right? The bangle as an example, the name and the form, actually what is it? It is gold. Name,
Yeah.
form, and utility. But mind, the nature of the mind will never allow you to see the gold there. It will always see the bangle. Though there is a gold behind the bangle, right? The bangle will not be, the gold will not be seen. That is the avarana, or that wheel. Of course, ideally what you should be seeing, you should be seeing the bangle. If you are a Vedantin, right? If you have to look at it from a Vedanta perspective, you will see the gold in the form of a bangle, which has got the utility to be put in your hands. Then comes the the name bangle. That's the Vedanta's way of looking at it. But what will you see? You will see the bangle, you will not see the gold, right? You will say that, okay, that's something, the utility is there. That is what is the wheel. When you say that something is avarana, right? Wherein your true nature is not to be understood there. That is what it is. The mind is actually creating that particular screen, right? Of not looking or understanding or, directly looking at the gold part of it. That's what is the Ajnana Avarana for now. Okay. Yeah.
Are we going to cover the the few words you mentioned, which is like when we come from the sleep, there are experiences where you're completely not aware of anything around or even yourself, and that connects to not just after sleep, but that connects to meditation area as well. So are we going to talk about that? Otherwise I can ask question on that part.
Yeah. You can ask the question. Let's
Okay, basically, in very early age, like 12, 13, 14, around that time, I started reading books and always fond of meditation kind of thing, finding inner self, who I am, and all that. And in that process, I was my likable time is like Sandhya Kal, when I see the horizon and sun setting, and that time I start looking at the sky and go into kind of with open eyes, go into thought process, and at one stage, my eyes are open and I'm completely blank. And few time I experienced that when I came back to the present world, my eyes were open. I was never sleeping or anything, but at that particular time, I started feeling who I am and what's my name or where I am, and that realization scared me big time because I was young. I was not like trained by any gurus or anything. So that scared me to do meditations, and particularly few times I was gone mad, and I felt that experience till date. When I come to the reality, that realization of understanding who you are, coming back to yourself, scared me, thinking that if I go to that zone, I may not come back to this zone again, and I stopped meditation. Then after years, like becoming mature a few years back or something, so if I do meditation now, I try to control my mind, but the very fast I go to sleep, so my mind shuts rather than going into any kind of thoughts, because I'm now not thinking who I am when I do meditation. I don't do regularly, but if I try to do that, I don't think on who I am, questioning, which I was doing in younger age. But now I try to concentrate on breathing or something else without thoughts. But in that process, in like 10-15 minutes, I knocked out and just go to deep sleep. So this is what I never understood. So is that related to meditation, or how should someone do that, or it's good or bad? I don't know, to think about that situation.
Yeah. So when you say that, when you said that, you were meditating earlier and then you had some experience earlier, now that, you are not having that. So what exactly was, I know that, you might be not be able to explain in detail, but then if you can.
Basically, when I came back, first visual like realization of my own body. So this is this is me. That realization, I couldn't get it for few many minutes. Then I couldn't get it where I am, and even remember my own name. And that was the scared me big time. That took like few minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes or more maybe.
So
When
when you say you when you came back, so what was the state before that?
So I was always doing that when it's a Sandhya Kala and on my terrace, and I always look at the horizon and start thinking where I came from, or where I will go after that death, or who am I? So is that like my soul is like previous previous birth, or So what my identity actually is, that is the particular thoughts always I think, and I just look at the horizon. So, and that, horizon, I just go deep, 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 and boom, out. I don't know what stage I am in and how long I am in, but I know that that is a process nearly for 1.5 2 hours I do that time.
Okay, so I think you have brought out a very interesting topic, actually. So let's go into that one, and that is very much connected with the mind. Absolutely, you're right. So see, the point is that always, and this is where we saw that bifurcation, right? Ahankara, right? When you think about, when I think, or whoever it is, right? You think about who am I, and we always associate ourselves with the body. That is what happens, right? When you say Hari, I associate myself with the body, because body is something that is very near to me, near and dear to me. I identify myself with the body. So the thought of not knowing me as such, or even for a moment forgetting about myself, actually creates fear in me. And it is the same fear of death as well, right? So the point is, we should closely observe this, and these are something that food for thought, actually, and think about this. So when you say about the body, right, now we are all there, we know this body, we know that we are talking, I am completely aware about my body. First point is that when you are asleep, right, when you are in a dream state, your body is lying somewhere. You are without your body in the dream, right? In the dream, you might be in some other place, some other time, right? And you might not be even the same person. So you might see yourself as some other, as an animal as well, or as a lady, or whatever. So your form has changed there. You might perceive yourself as someone else in the dream. You are not this body. You don't identify with Hari at that point of time. You are lying somewhere, but still you are there. You are something, you are perceiving there. That body is, you don't have any connection with the body at that point of time. Then you go to deep sleep. You don't have any perception at that point of time. But if you think about what, day after day, that is the only one thing that we don't get bored of, right? In fact, we all aspire for it. We want that deep sleep experience, right? And when you have a good deep sleep, the next day morning we feel rejuvenated, right? We say that, okay, I had a good night's sleep. Or if it's disturbed, then you're like all moody the next day morning. At that point of time, you don't even know about your entity. You don't know that you are Hari or Sandeep or Pradeep or whoever that is. And even your dream state is not there. You go to some state, right, wherein your body is not there, your mind is not there, nothing is there, and then you come back. So you existed there in that dream state without knowing about the body, in that deep sleep state without knowing about the body. That is the first point, right? So you have that perception, one, right? Because if you were the body, actually, at any point of time you should have known that, okay, I am there, my body is lying in the bed, right? And then I am sleeping, okay, I am in this state, but still my body is lying in the bed. If you are the body, right? First point. Second point, we again identify ourselves with the body too much. But then if you think about it, let's say uh, um, you have your house now, right? No, you have built your dream house, and then if somebody is coming and asking, okay, uh, where is your kitchen, or what do you have in your kitchen, what will you say? Oh, I don't know, I'll have to bring someone and show it to you. Will you say that? No, you know which part of your house the kitchen is in. But think of it, if you think of your body, what is it that you know about your body? Actually, nothing. It's very less actually. So, right now, I am speaking here. You are sitting here and listening. We had tea just before. I hope that you all had tea, right? What is that doing in our stomach? We don't know. When I speak, when I open my hands and close it like this, what is the coordination that's happening within the body? I don't know, right? From the top to the toe, what is currently happening, which way the blood is getting pumped, my heart, kidney, everything. For a normal person, nobody knows anything, right? It had to be learned or taught by someone, so that we even knew that, okay, there is something called as kidney, there is something called as liver. Correct? We don't know anything about the body naturally, right? And we identify too much ourselves with the body. Second point, right? Think about it. It's just think about it, how much we know. We know very little, in the sense that, okay, if I eat something or drink something that is not suitable for the body, that level of knowledge is something that we have through our experience. Correct? So the mistake that we often make is that we identify only with our body, and we identify this body as a person, as I, the entity. Whereas Vedanta is saying that try to go beyond that, right? And if you try to go beyond that, you will try to find what is beyond this, what is that life in you. Because if you don't go beyond that, you will always identify with the body, and that's the fear of death. You will always do that. So in your case, what has happened is that, when you said that, and you had that fear, you had the fear because you were identifying yourself with the body. Correct? What is mind? All the thoughts. Without this body, you cannot associate a single thought without something that you have done with this body. If you just observe it, it might be something that you have heard, you have seen, like through these senses. And that's this next point that we are coming to, shama, dhamma. So when during the meditation and during the deep sleep, what should ideally happen is that we should try to take off the association with the body and try to understand what is beyond the body, right? And that will only subside the mind, because mind always is identifying any of its thoughts are with the body. Any of its thoughts, if you look at, as to do something with the body, or as long as I is the body, right? You will always fear that, okay, if I go into a territory that is unknown to me, which is beyond the body, beyond the mind, I have a fear. That's the same fear of death. Absolutely. Because when we say that, we are going to die, what do you mean? Body is gone. And the third part, if you look at, let's say for argument's sake, we are saying that, okay, this body is me. As I told you, we don't know anything about the body. Take any of the parts. As an example, this hand. If I amputate this hand, right, will the hand say that, okay, I am Hari? This hand doesn't say. None of the body parts say individually that, even the heart transplantation is happening. We say that if our thoughts are in the mind and it's the brain transplant is happening these days. Doesn't mean that if a person is getting a brain transplant, the memories of the person who was there earlier is not coming to him, the other person, or the individuality is not coming to him, right? Any part of the body, if you take, correct, you are not, you can see that, you are not the body. It's again food for thought. Of course, if from a Vedantic perspective, when you meditate, you will see that body is a part of me, but it's not like this world is again a part of me. The body is a part of me, but I am not the body. Body is not the of predominance. So why you are going to deep sleep now? The reason is that mind has only two things. Either if you are, I think you were in a, I would say you were in a better state earlier when you were having that, right? From a meditation perspective, because mind only knows two things. If mind doesn't have anything to associate itself to, always remember, mind cannot stand on its own. What is mind? Thoughts. Thoughts is association with something. Anything, be it it might be a movie that you might have watched yesterday, it might be any thoughts is like associated with something or the other. It might be an object, it might be some emotion, whatever it is. You cannot have a thought without a subject to it. Think over it, right? You cannot have a thought without a subject to it. So if you have a subject associated, that is called as the association. So mind cannot be there without the subject, right? So that particular property of the mind, right? If you take out that I part of it, the mind cannot be there. So then what happens? If it doesn't have anything much to think about, it goes to sleep. That's the other thing, that it subsides. It goes to sleep, right? So what we are trying to understand is a state between those, the sleep state wherein the mind is subsided, and the thought state wherein you are constantly thinking. See, we all understand that the thoughts are not us, because you might have thought about something, let's say buying a car in last 10 minutes, but that thought has gone, something else has come, right? Your thoughts, if you just look at it, the thoughts are constantly replaced one after the other, one after the other. But then who is knowing these thoughts? Try to see the person or that entity who's seeing these thoughts. That is I. Now what we are doing is that we are identifying ourselves with the thoughts and going with the thoughts. So we tie and associate ourselves with that and go along with it. And we create the bondage for ourselves in the mind, saying that, okay, I don't know, my mind is not in a very happy mood. My mind is all tensed and all that, right? So the bondage is created by us only. So there is a story, just which suddenly I remember now. So there was a farmer who had like two cows, and that's what the livelihood of it is. So he takes these cows to his farmland to graze every day, every morning, and then he does his work. And then there is a tree in the afternoon when the sun is high. So he goes and ties these two cows in the tree, and then he sleeps for some time. And evening he comes back. That's his daily routine. So one day what happened is that he was again doing his daily thing and then going and trying to tie the cow. Then he found out that the rope in the neck of one of the cows is missing. It has fallen somewhere, so there is no rope. So then he went. There is an ashram nearby, so he goes to that ashram and asks the sannyasi there, uh, can you give me a rope? I'll give it in the evening, or I'll give it tomorrow, because I don't have a rope to tie the cow to the tree. So he says, I don't have. I am a man with minimalistic needs. So why would I need a rope? So he says, see, I am very tired. The farmer says, I am very tired. I have to sleep, but then I can't go back and take the rope. So he says, I'll tell you a trick. So just do that. So do like, every day that you just show the cow that you are tying the cow with the rope, right? Without actually the rope being there, right? And try to tie. So he says, okay, I'll try it, because you are a sannyasi. Maybe you have got some powers. Maybe let me see. So then he ties, and then the cow, as such, as soon as he ties the cow every day, it sits down and it also sleeps. So it does the same thing. And then when he wakes up, the farmer wakes up. Normally, like he unties and takes the cows away. So he unties the first cow, which actually had a rope, and then the second cow is not tied. So what he does, he asks the cow to get up, and he pushes the cow. The cow is not getting up, right? The cow, whatever he does, the cow is not getting up. So he became scared. So he runs back to the sannyasin and says that the cow is not getting up. So he said, sannyasin said, but you have not untied. But I have not tied also. But for you, you haven't tied the cow. In the mind of the cow is tied, right? So you will have to untie the cow, the rope, then only you can take it home. Then he unties and the cow gets up and goes home. This is how our association with things is. We think that anything, let's say, if I want to buy something, a phone, or if I'm seeing a series in Netflix as an example, I would have made up my mind that okay, tonight I will just go to sleep at 10:30. And what will you do? Till 2 o'clock, one after the other, the episodes. Oh my god, this is so tense. How can I leave it? It is not doing anything to you. Actually, it is there. You can watch it tomorrow. It is not asking you to watch, right? What is happening? You are tying yourself to that. And you are thinking that, okay, I am tied to it. This is our association with anything in the world, if you actually observe it. If you observe it, we have tied ourselves without the rope, right? And where is it? It is in our mind. Like it was the rope was in cow's mind. It was actually not there. That is association. That is what the mind is, right? So if you have to take that off, what is the way? You need to control the mind. And controlling the mind is absolutely difficult. And Krishna says again, to that question of Arjuna, when he said that it is as difficult as tying the wind, he says asamshayam mahabahu. It is without doubt you are saying the truth. It is very difficult. Then he says about how to do it, right? So the best way to control the mind is this, to observe the thoughts, right? When something that comes to you, something that is putting a lot of pressure on you, tension on you, right? Just try to take a step back and see who is actually knowing these thoughts. Is this thought I am not this thought? Because there was some thought 5 minutes before, there will be some other thought, it will pass. Just try not to act on it if it's like too much of tension and something there wherein you have a lot of conflict, right? Try to take a step back and try to see for whom this thought is coming. That if you are able to see, you will be able to control the mind. That is at a very simplest sense. Of course, this requires a lot of effort in terms of meditation and all that. But meditation, of course, meditation is what? Meditation is closely observing and seeing the thoughts. The thoughts will automatically subside. See, it is like when you play with it. When you play with the children, it's like playing with the children, right? When you play with the children, they will also create all ruckus. When you start playing along with them, let's say your child is playing and throwing something here and there, and you also start throwing, then they will do it more. They enjoy it, right? But at the same time, when you take a step back, and when you just watch them doing it, what will they do? They will see that, okay, you are watching, they will keep it and they will go. Exactly the same case with the thoughts as well. It will require practice, but that's how you should. Yeah, go ahead.
So, question after hearing you is, when you do meditation with open eyes or without open eyes, you start observing the thoughts, whatever is coming in, and you let pass those thoughts and come to some stage where maybe it's a blank area or without thought area, right? Is that meditation or anything beyond that? What it is?
So you will come to a blank state, right? That is something you will observe the blank state as well. When you observe that, right, then you will then you can question like, who is observing that blank state as well? There is someone who is perceiving it, right? You are in a thoughtless state. Remember, you might be perceiving the body, you might not be perceiving the body, you might be perceiving the mind, you might not be perceiving the mind. But then there is when you say that you get into a blank state, you realize that there is a blank state. There is someone who is realizing that there is a blank there. right?
Yep.
Try to see who that is.
How to do that?
Just observe, right? Just try to see who's seeing this blank state. It is making that as an object. See, what are we trying to do in meditation is like we are trying to disassociate everything that are like objects, and you become the subject. You become the seer of those objects. Now what we are doing, we are
You
identifying.
you means what?
You will see that. You will have to experience it,
Okay.
right? That you is something that needs to be experienced. That is
And
experience.
it's not labeled Sandeep, it's something else, possibly.
Yeah, so that's something that you will know, right? When you say you or I, that I is beyond. See, now I am associating with the thoughts, I am running with the thoughts. I associate that, I am happy, I am sad, I am terrible, all that. Or I am rich, I am poor, all that are thoughts that you are associating yourself with. If you make those as objects, you become the subject.
Okay.
Your question will not arise when you reach that blank and go beyond the blank, because that I is ego. That also will go, and you will see, you will get into a state where there are no thoughts, because that who is that itself is a question, that is a thought. You will go into that, wherein you will realize the true nature. It's an experience, right? So of course a little bit deep, but we will come to that in due point of time. But your question is right.
That's why I scared. So I was younger. So as I said, when I started that thoughts and I got scared, I was like 12, 13, 14. In between that time, I got scared. Possibly I didn't have maturity to control those or understanding those things, or no one I have bounced back those ideas or thoughts what I felt it, and that's why I stopped. But that from that point I never went into serious meditation which leads to questions, because I do not want to go to question kind of meditation starts with, and that's why I went to sleep whenever I do meditation, because I try to not do meditation with thoughts, because I don't want to go into that stage. But now you explain, so I can start with any random thoughts and I just carry on my journey, and then
Yeah, that's when you start meditating. That's on the seat of meditation is when the most number of thoughts will come. It will come like, too many of them, right? When you are in normal state, when you are speaking like this,
Yes.
you might think that, okay, at times there are a lot of people who stop meditation just because of this reason. They will think that, okay, when I am doing meditation, I am better off without meditation, because there are a lot of thoughts coming, a lot of bad thoughts coming. See, what is happening is all these thoughts are coming because those are there in your mind, in the sense those tendencies are there in your mind when you are trying to. It's like going for a battle, right? When you are trying to observe, or when you're not identifying with it, that's like coming all of a sudden, everything, and then trying to attack you. So what you need to do, you just need to distance yourself from the thoughts, right? And then once you reach that blank state, or that particular state, then you need to observe that as well. So mind control is all about observing the thoughts in a very simple state. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, which is Dhamma, and then we will realize what that is. So I'll just recite that. Dhamaka chakshuradi bahyendriya nigraha. So the next one is Dhamma. Again, very much associated with Shama. Shama is mind control. Dhamma is the control of the senses. And again, this is again related to the same conversation that we are having. When you say control of the senses, have you heard about the Indriyas? The term Indriya? There are.
Yeah.
So generally we say that, there are like Panjendriya, 5 Indriyas. Actually, there are 10. 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas. That's how it is. Right? What are the 5 Jnanendriyas? The 5 senses that we know. Right? See, hear, taste, touch, smell. Right? And the 5 Karmendriyas. So when you say that Jnanendriyas, we often make a mistake that we say that eyes is an Indriya. Yes, eyes, when you say eyes, it is not the physical eye that you are talking about. It is the perception. When you see something, what are you seeing? So if a person is dead, if I put a phone in front of him, can he perceive that there's a phone? No, right? How I am perceiving this, because it is getting registered in my mind, right? So the mind is actually the eye. So there is a sense in the mind that sees. There is a sense in the mind that hears. So it's just not about this outer instrument, not just about that. So these five senses, right? And then the karma indriyas. There are five jnanendriyas. That is your eyes, ears, tongue, smell. Then what else did I miss? Touch. Correct. Yeah. So that's the skin, right? So these are the five, and then five karma indriyas are there. These are the five jnanendriyas that I said. The five karma indriyas are Vak, Pada, Pani, Payu, Upastam. These are the five karma indriyas. What does it mean? Vak means the speech. It's a karma, right? When I'm talking something, it's a karma, speech. Vak, Pada, your legs by which you do your work. Pani, your hands. Again, you do some work with it. Payu and Upastam, organs of reproduction and excretion. Again, that's again a kind of karma, right? So those are the five karma indriyas. But when you talk about the indriyas, generally we talk about the jnanendriyas, because through that is how we experience the world. Again, coming back to the point that we discussed. Think of it. Has anyone ever in this world known the world apart from these five senses? Anything in this world?
Known the world, as in
Yeah. Known
um,
anything outside, anything apart from him or her.
any other sense that we have used. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or no?
Any other sense? No,
We
right?
always say sixth sense. I don't know what that relates to.
No. So
Yeah.
this sixth sense is something that we say, but anything that we have known outside, or the world that as we see it is known through these five senses. These are our receptors. Correct? We receive everything through these, and then we
Yeah.
store. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, like sometimes if I'm sleeping, right, and I'm sleeping either in that bedroom or in this one, and consciously or subconsciously, I just get a feeling there's somebody around, yeah, or something, and then I go down and look through the door, and either there's a person or there's something happening outside, right, in the middle of the night, or somebody just come or walking, or there's no noise actually. I mean, it's not a car or anything, but something triggers in my mind and I got wake up, right? I just wake up. So I don't know what it is, but it happens to me sometimes. Like subconsciously, I know that something is around me, even though there's no noise or I haven't used any of my senses. Like I haven't used eye or nose or ear, even there's no sound. But sometimes I get that. And it has happened that when I go and look, there's somebody, either it's a cat or it's a person who's just gone there, right? Maybe.
Yeah. So see, that's the power of the mind, right? What is the power of why? When you say senses, again, remember what I told you. You might not be hearing it through your physical ear, right? There is something called as sukshma sharira, which we will discuss in later, right? You are, in this case, what is happening is that you are perceiving that hearing, right? Not through your physical ears, but through your sukshma sharira. Meaning, I'm not talking about something supernatural or anything. We will logically see that when we go to the next chapter, right? So just hold that one, but we will see that. So in general, we receive this or the outside world. We perceive this through these five senses. These are the receptors for us, and whatever is there, the thoughts that we have, again, as I told earlier, is associated with these, whatever we are receiving through these five senses. anything that we saw, touched, smelled, whatever it is, right? There is a beautiful sloka in Bhagavad Gita wherein it says, it talks about a tree which is like upside down. So, and that tree is within who? Within us. What is it? This tree has got branches outside, right? Think of a tree from our head, right? As imagination, going the roots going outwards, and then it is, taking all that from the world outside, like the roots taking the nutrients from the soil, the water from the soil, everything taking from outside, and then inside you, in your mind, then you are bearing the fruits of it, the leaves are coming out, right? And the trunk is coming out, that is happening inside. So and the sloka is like this: urdha moola madhashagam ashwatham prahuravyayam chandam siyasya parnani etsnam veda sa vedavit. Urdha moola madhashagam, the roots are like going out. From there, from your receptors, these receptors, you are receiving, you are thinking about it, and that makes you and me as our personalities, right? That is what bears the fruit, bears the leaves, the trunk, everything is coming from there. Even physically or otherwise, whatever we are eating also, that's what is made up, making this physical body from outside, and the thoughts are being made up from outside. So it is like a tree that is upside down, right? Now, controlling the senses is what is called as dhamma, or the next quality. What does it mean? Should we control the senses? So if you look at it, the senses is what is pulling us towards various things, right? So again, going back to the earlier example, you might be diabetic, and you decide that, okay, for next 5 days I am not going to touch anything like laddus or jalebis or anything. And ironically, as you will have it, the next day there'll be some party that somebody will invite you, saying that, you come for tea in our house. Okay, so then when you go, you will see a heap of laddus there. And then what will you do? You will see that, okay, it is kept in very beautiful manner, like, let's say, a laddu on the top, and then there's a laddu hill there, and then you will be like, your favorite thing is laddu, right? Food. And then you will go there, you will say that, no, let me not go there. Then you will start applying the logic. That's how the mind works. What is wrong in going there and seeing it, how beautifully they have kept it, right? Then your eyes is pulling you there. You go there. When you reach near that laddu, then you can hear the smell of it, the ghee smell. It's coming. Your nose locked into that. Then you will see, no. Then your mouth starts watering, saying that, okay, oh, that's very nice. Then you will, again, your mind will put logic to it. See, I am not eating laddu, but I can eat that raisin on top of that laddu. I have said that I will not eat laddu, but I can eat the raisin. Okay. Then you will take the laddu, and then you will try to take the raisin, and then what will happen? That raisin alone will never come, right? The laddu, half of it will come. You will eat, then you will say, anyways, I have eaten the half, just one laddu, right? You will eat the full. So this is how it works, right? So each and every sense is actually trying to lock you and pull it their way. And this is what is the principle in the advertisements, right? Why they make up all these advertisements, emotional, all these hoardings and everything that you can see, that is jazzy. Why? Your eyes will pull you, the music will pull you, right? So it is creating, and not just the advertisements, any experiences, anything of indulgence. And in fact, me and Pradeep bhai were talking about the metaverse the other day, right? So what is happening? So you are trying to get indulged in that through your senses. That is what is happening. So how can you control? See, if it is actually pulling you in those directions, you are actually becoming the slave of these. You are not controlling yourself anymore. In this case, remember, you went with the firm conviction that I will not eat any sweet for next 2 days. What happened? That didn't happen, right? Because your senses pulled you and you started eating it. So, but you will think that, okay, that's a pleasure. But rather than being a pleasure, if you actually look at it, you are being enslaved by those senses. That is what happened, right? So then how can we control the senses? Very important question. And how can we control the mind? How can we control the senses? And this again is related to something that Pradeep bhai you were asking some time back about the war and the mind and everything, right? In Kathopanishad, there is a beautiful sloka, which is
Hari, can I ask one quick question?
yeah, please.
Actually, we said that we have five senses, and sometimes we have a sukshma sharira sense, but
No, Sukshma
no,
Sharira is not a
when
sense. Again, just
yeah,
clarifying
I
it.
mean perceived through the other sense, but is there any a perception of a sense or a feeling through our previous birth of a soul?
See, okay.
I mean, does it have any impact on how we perceive the things?
You are talking about something called as samskara, right? And vasana samskara. So what it means is that uh, whatever experiences that we have gained in our previous births leaves an imprint on us. Hmm? And again, I'm deviating from the topic to answer your question here.
If it is off the topic, you
No,
can
no. So I
give a
think
short answer.
it's a good question. So let's just quickly go to that and then come back. So what happens is that anything that you experience, right, in whatever be it, it has got an imprint in you, right? Let's say, as an example, you are going to Harrow, and then you have not gone to Krishna Vada Pav, as an example. And then first time you went, you ate something, bel puri or dahi puri or whatever it is, and you liked it very much. So I'm just telling a very simple example. So what happened? You liked it. It has an imprint on you. Next time you are going to Harrow, you don't have any intention of going to Krishna Vada Pav. You are passing in front of that and you are seeing it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I have like half an hour more for my meeting. Why don't I just go and have, right? You go and you try to have it. Similarly, the other way around also. You didn't like something. You went to some restaurant, you didn't like something, and you're like, okay, I'm feeling hungry, but then I don't want to go to that restaurant, even though it's near to me, right? Because I didn't like it. Positive or negative, there are imprints. Positive or negative, and this is just about one situation. Similarly, right, your character is based on certain dislikes, likes, dislikes. You have certain imprints on you which actually builds up your character, your ego. That has got an effect on you. When I say previous birth, again, we had this topic for last discussion. We are not talking about Hari as a person. That will never happen in next birth. I am not going to know my individuality, my character. That is not what it is. But there is something called as samskara, right? Or vasana imprints, which will determine to a certain extent your kind of interest, likes, and dislikes at a very subtle level, not to a very extensive level, at a very, very subtle level. And that is what is the answer to your question. So that is not a sense, but that's an imprint of the experiences that you had. And it will not be like, if you are asking, let's say in the same example, you will not remember whether you liked a bel puri or pani puri in your previous life. No, that is not going to happen. But you will of course have the tendency part of it. When I say tendency part of it, in a very, very subtle seed form, right? As an example, if you look at my daughter, right, when from the time she is born till now, she will not touch a single drop of curd, whatever I perceive, whatever I pressurize, whatever it is. No. And she will, the moment I do that, she will start vomiting or throwing up, right? Why? I mean, there are kids who like it or not like it, right? There is a vasana imprint at a very, very subtle level, and you will never know how it will get manifested. So that's the answer to that one, right? Again, we will see that in detail when we go inside the chapters in the
Okay.
section. Now, coming back to the Dhamma part, how will you control it? And very important sloga in Kathopanishad, which is there in Bhagavad Gita in the same manner, which answers a lot of questions. And what is that sloka? Atmanam radhinam vidhi shariram radhameva tu buddhim tu saradhim vidhi manapragraham cha indriyani hayanahu vishayamsteshu gocharan atmendriyamano yuktam bhoktetyahur manishinah. What does that mean? The entire picture, try to picturize this. Okay, when I say this, you yourself, let's say Atman, just give the name Atman at this point of time. We will see what Atman is, but try to place yourself as the Atman. Atmanam Vridinam Vidhi. Just think about a chariot or a car or whatever it is. A chariot, right? You are the passenger in the chariot. Atmanam Vridinam. The guy, the person who didn't want to eat that laddu, who wanted to abstain from taking sweets, that person, right? The I is the passenger. Shariram radhamevatu. This body is the chariot. Try to picturize this. This body is the chariot. The person who is the passenger is the Atman or I. This Sharira Radham. Buddhi, the intellect, is the Saradhi, the driver of the chariot. Mana Pragrahamevacha. Mana is the reins. Indriyani Hayano. Reins of what? The Indriyas. Indriya is horses. So you have horses as your Indriyas, these senses. You have the mind as the reins. You have the driver or the charioteer as the intellect or the buddhi. You have the passenger as the Atman, and you have the chariot as the body, right? So this is how you will control it. Meaning, if it's a normal day-to-day life, right? Your body is your chariot. That's right. Because we, with this body only, we experience anything. We go to any shopping mall, office, or anything that we do is what we do with this body. This is our chariot, right? This is on which we drive. The senses is what goes and do everything, right? It pulls. But what happens if the chariot or the driver doesn't have the reins in his hand? What will happen? The horses, how many senses we have? 5. These 5 horses will go in different directions, and you cannot proceed, right? So you will have to control it. How do you control it? Again, if you have the reins loose, you don't hold it tightly, what will happen? The same thing will happen. It'll go in different directions. So you need to hold it tightly. And who can hold this tightly? Your intellect. Intellect should say, go here, do this, do that. So because your horses, your senses, like in the previous example, it will pull you in different directions. And your mind, the reins will go in the direction that the horse is pulling if you don't have the control. And you need to control with the intellect. And that is the intellect's point of having it, right? So this is how you will control. And if you don't have this control, right, what will happen is that's how your mind is going haywire, and you are not listening to your intellect. Because think of it, there is always somebody who is sitting inside and saying that don't do it, do this. You know what is right and wrong. Nobody who is doing anything that is really bad, or even telling a small lie, somebody is sitting and saying that don't do it. No, that's not the right way of doing it. That's the inner voice that we have. We don't listen to it. Correct? We don't listen to it at times, and that's why we go and jump into a lot of things that are really bad. And that's the same thing even for a war or for anything as telling a small lie. This is the basic principle of Bhagavad Gita, right? And we see that, see this. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's from Mahabharata.
This is the Kurukshetra, right? This is actually not just a story that happened somewhere, but it's a daily story of us. So if you look at the Krishna is the charioteer, there should be 5 horses. I'll tell you why there are only 4 horses, but these are the indriyas. These are our senses. The mind is the reins here that you see. Krishna is the charioteer, the Buddhisthana. Arjuna is us only, and this chariot is the body, right? Why there are only 4 horses? Ideally there should be 5 as per the sloka, but the tongue, because it is like in the form of a touch, the taste is perceived as touch because it's a form of a touch only. That's why it is being identified with 1, and then there are only 4. But that's just a technical explanation of it. So this, if you see this picture, right, anywhere, because we have kept this in our living rooms, we have seen this many times. We have
That's
seen,
why I wanted to ask you something.
yeah. Go ahead.
I've got this picture hand painted in gold as well, gold leafing. It takes up half of my room, yeah, on one side. But then somebody, a few years later, I got it done in India. I got it exported and imported into UK. And you know what happened? Somebody says you cannot have this photo, this painting, in your house. And I said, why not? He says, this photo is not meant to be in a house. And he didn't give me a full explanation. But have you ever heard of this? Because I never heard of anything like this.
Oh yeah, I have heard of this, and not just this. There are a lot of foolishness happening like that, in the sense that people say you should not have the photo or idol of Krishna and Radha in the house, right? Because they got separated. You should not be having. And for this one, they say that if you keep this in your house will be like Mahabharata, like Kurukshetra. That might be the explanation.
Battle.
Battle.
Yeah, battle,
right?
yeah.
So and then you should not keep Mahabharata in your house. And I have heard, see, these are all weird explanations that people are giving. The reason is we should actually think of it. Think of what Mahabharata is. Think of that book that tells us what dharma is, right? And do you think that Vyasa, the great Vyasa who wrote this, is a sadist who wanted to create some battle in your house so that, if you keep and read it in your house, then it will create battle? So these are like people's imagination, right? Everyone should actually have that picture in the house, because when we look at that picture, it should remind, it is me. How should I go in this world? What is Kurukshetra? This daily life is Kurukshetra. Because that battlefield, we are going out and battling our thoughts, our enemies. There you have a lot of these things that are there in the outside world, which is right and which is wrong, right? So you have your things that you should do, you should not do, correct?
The other thing is also, they said you shouldn't have the Nataraj in your house as well. Where you got Shiva coming through a portal and stuff. And I'm just getting so confused. I'm sorry, it's just I don't know if you can give me some clarity.
Nataraja is the most beautiful expression of the godhood that you can ever see, right? I can in detail take a class about Nataraja. See, I'll just tell you what it is. Nataraja, if you look at the head, he has Ganga. Ganga is what? Personification of knowledge, right? And then in one hand, he has got the Damaru.
Yeah.
Damaru, from there, it is called as Nada Brahma, wherein the creation happens. In the other hand, he has got fire, Agni, right? And what Agni signifies? Agni is actually, or the fire, or that fire is actually your self, symbolizes yourself in the sense that the I principle. I, when I say I, that God principle. Again, people have this wrong notion that Nataraja is the destroyer. They say that Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, and Nataraja or Shiva is the destroyer. Have you heard that?
Yes, yes. So yes,
Right.
the symbol of Om. Yeah.
Right. But God, when you say destroyer, it's not like we are doing destruction. That's not what it is. It is the same principle as that of that Brahman and Maya. It is something is getting created, that is manifested, and it sustains, and it goes and again dissolves back. That dissolution is not destruction.
That's what I understand. Where something starts from, well, let's say thought or whatever, it expands, and then it contracts back to. And
yeah, exactly. Its original source. That is not destruction. That is dissolution. Yeah. And Shiva is not some. It came from that wrong notion. Came from something called as Samharta. Shiva is called as Samharta. Samharta in Sanskrit, everything has got a dhatu, a root. That harta is like dissolution. So dissolution is like, it is getting dissolved. And coming back to Nataraja, and what is he doing? His one hand is actually showing like this to the left leg. The leg is actually lifted up. Whereas his other leg, if you have observed, there is a demon underneath his other leg. And that is called as Apasmarasura, that demon. What is Apasmarasura? The things that we are talking about, our mind, ego, all that. So if you have to actually go and realize the God, you will have to go beyond that. Put your 1 foot on top of that, these notions, these mind, intellect, everything, and then raise yourself into the Godhood, going beyond the body. Beautiful personification of what is God. And if somebody is saying that you cannot keep it in your house, then God only help them, right? And the same thing with this Kurukshetra, the picture that you just saw.
Yes.
It is a picture where it says that this is the way you should lead your life. So again, just coming back on that one, 5 senses are the horses, the mind is your reins, and that should be controlled by the intellect, which is Krishna there, right? Because Krishna, again, one more thing from the Bhagavad Gita itself. Bhagavan says that, whenever there is any chuti, or whenever the dharma gets destroyed, I will reincarnate. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyam. Correct? We generally mistake that, if the dharma in this whole world gets destroyed, then he will come as an incarnation like a body. That is one meaning from a Vachyartha. Again, remember the Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. Vachyartha is something, the literal meaning. The Lakshyartha is, and he says that, Tada Atmanam Srijamyaham. Listen to that sentence. Tada Atmanam Srijamyaham. I will manifest in the Atman. He didn't say Tada Bharadamyam Srijamyaham, Tada Lokamyam Srijamyaham. No, that's not the word there. Tada Atmanam Srijamyaham. Whenever there is any destruction, any dissolution in the Dharma part, right? When Dharma is getting weakened, I will manifest in Atman. Meaning that inner voice, that intellect is what he's referring to. That inner voice. This is for the normal people like us, right? He says, do this, don't do this, right? That inner voice itself is him. And he is manifesting he is taking avatar on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute basis in us.
Yeah.
If you know this principle, this is how we should lead. This is what Bhagavad Gita has to tell us. Right? This is how we can take Bhagavad Gita in the daily life. And this is what the Dhamma means. So, Shama, Dhamma. Two things we saw today. Shama is mind. Dhamma is control of the senses. How we consolidated everything in that one sloka, and we saw the picture. Try to remember that picture. Whenever you say, you might have seen some of the Gita pictures, like, Krishna is holding this, and then he is turning back and looking at Arjuna. You might have seen the pictures like that.
Yeah.
Meaning he has a strong control of those horses, and he is advising the chariot, the passenger, that is us, on do this, do that. Because end of it, remember, even though Krishna is the driver there, he is still a Saradhi. It is Arjuna who is saying, take me there, take me to Drona, take me to Bhishma, take me to this guy, take me to that guy, let me go and kill them. Right? End of the day, Krishna will not do that. Krishna will not say to Arjuna, you know what, you go and kill. Arjuna is the one who actually gives the directions. But Krishna
he's saying partial, impartial.
Yeah, right. Krishna tells what is right, what is wrong.
Yes.
Then Arjuna is the final one who takes the decisions. It's the same with us. So this is how we should imbibe the tattva of Bhagavad Gita in our life as Shama and Dhamma.
Can I ask you one more question before you go today? You were talking about meditation earlier on and so forth, and one thing when I talk about meditation, I get this sometimes. This happens sometimes, very, very, very rarely. But what happens is, like, I'm lying down, I'm sleeping, but what's happened is that it's like I've come out of my body, and I've actually turned around and looked at myself sleeping. What does that mean? People call it inner body, outer body experience and all that. But what does it really mean? And I've experienced that a few times where I've actually, and at one time I remembered it so vividly, it scared me. It scared me, but I got used to it a little bit. But what does it mean? You know what that means in meditation?
And that's what we'll come to, right? There are three shariras in us, or three bodies, right? Stula, which is this body that we see, the physical body. Then there is something called as Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. And there is something called as Karana Sharira, right? And again, I'm not talking about any kind of soul or anything that is getting separated from the body. When we go through that logically, each of these, we will see what it is, right? And don't think that something is apart from me, and nothing like that, nothing like a ghost or something like that. But there is something which has the power to see. Again, remember the body principle that we said. What is the body? You can disassociate yourself from the body because of these reasons that we saw in the beginning, right? You are not the body. You are not just the body. Body is a part of you.
You know the body, you know the mind. Yeah.
Absolutely possible. It is not something that is unnatural, but we think that it is unnatural because we identify too much ourselves with the body, and we always fear that if anything happens to the body, then I am finished, right? We will see that when we see the Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira in detail. Okay. So I think, we have overshoot the time. Hopefully, you all didn't have anything else, or I hope it's fine. Sorry if I have
No, very good, very good.
Great as always.
Absolutely fine.
This is like something we would love to continue to go,
Exactly. Well said, Pradeep. Absolutely.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Little by little, knowledge is broadening. Is widening, as we say. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, reflecting is one thing, as you said, Haribai, in the first session is the interpretation, right? Just now, like you explained, that picture you showed us, the interpretation of that, right, can be done in 1,000 ways. It's just a picture of a scene, can be something, right? You explained the interpretation of everything in the right way is so important. Everybody has their own interpretation, but I think that's how we can progress and build on that, I guess, right? So
yeah, and
that's the
remember,
journey.
so that is an interpretation that people can interpret in 100 ways, right? But that is something that is coming directly from the Gita. That is a sloka in the Gita, right? Wherein that picture is being that is how it is being interpreted. So that is coming from the source, right? And remember one thing, and this is just for what you also said, Nilesh Bhai, that people will tell 1,000 things. And Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te. In his time also, there were people who tells a lot of these nonsense things, right? So he says, don't listen to anything else, but go with what Shastra says. Let there be the base. If you have any doubts on anything, go and check the text, the authentic texts, which are like Vedas and Vedanta, right? The Smritis. See what it says and go by that. So the pramana should be the Shastras, or the foundation, or what we should check is the Shastras. So nowhere in Shastras it is said that you should not keep the picture or you should not keep the book. In fact, it says keep the book, keep the text, try and understand what it is, read it. That's what it is. Okay. All right. So let us stop then. Okay.
Thank
So
you, as
I'll
always.
just say the Purnamada and then stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. See you all later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you in week's time.
2 weeks time.
2 weeks time. Yeah.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Cool. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Sandip. As
Bye, Ari.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.